Right side, second row, Mark.
Dramón, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. I saw a couple days ago you described yourself as the best defender ever. Can you talk about why you have that kind of conviction about your place on the all-time list and where Kawhi Leonard ranks for you?
I think as a competitor, if you're trying to do something meaningful, if you don't have the mindset that you're the best ever, you failed already. So if you don't have the mindset that you are the best reporter ever, then you already failed. And that's been my mindset since I can remember. That will be my mindset as long as I can remember anything, that I am the best ever at what I do. And every day that I step on the basketball floor, I will strive to be that. But my mindset will always be as such, as I am the best to do what I do. And that'll give me a shot at being the best. But before you can ever reach anything, you have to believe it. You don't just mistakenly become great at something. You probably at one point, at one time or another, believe that you can be great at that. And then you work to get great at that, and you reach that greatness. But you don't mistakenly become great. And then you start to believe, oh man, I'm great at that. No, you believed that before, and you work to get that. So I always believe that. And I'll work every day to reach that.
Now, Kawhi has a great nickname based on his defense, Claw. If he has a great nickname...
I think he got that nickname because he has some of the largest hands we all have seen. However, his defense is great.
If he's Claw, what are you?
I'm Dramón.
Left side in the back, Anthony.
Anthony said with the Athletic. What kind of challenge is DeMarcus facing just as an athlete who hasn't played in, 6 weeks or so, and he's probably going to get dropped in this series at the later stages of his rehab and have to kind of survive on the court?
A huge challenge. When you talk about DeMarcus, he's someone who's been great in this league for years now. He's probably played basketball, 16 of the last 19 months. So that right there alone is a challenge in itself. Then you start to talk playoff experience, where you and I both know the intensity level is completely different than a regular season game, and he doesn't have much playoff experience. And then you get dropped in the NBA Finals. It's kind of like some kid who grew up in the suburbs going to private school, and then one day you just got dropped in the hood and was told to survive. You gotta figure that out. It's very similar to that. Now, in saying that, if you're that kid that's dropped in the hood, what do you revert to? You just revert to what you know. You do whatever it is that you know, you just try to do that to survive. Well, one thing we do know is DeMarcus is a great basketball player. So at that point, then you just go out there and you do what you're great at. And everything else will fall in line. But I think it's also on us. That kid has a much better chance of surviving if he get with the right group of friends in that neighborhood. It's on us as his teammates to help pull him through, to get whatever we can out of him to help make us a better team and do whatever we can to put him in the best position to be successful.
Dramón, we'll go to the right side, Dan.
Dramón, Dan Wenke with the Los Angeles Times. I'm curious, when you watch Toronto, do you see any of your traits in Kyle Lowry in the way that you guys kind of sell out to win individual possessions? And what's sort of your impression of Kyle Lowry?
Kyle, I got mad respect for Kyle. A friend, first off. We won a gold medal together. And Kyle is a guy who got it out the mud. He wasn't always an all-star. He wasn't always a starter, but he got it out the mud, and he's where he's at today. He's faced a lot of doubt. He's been criticized a ton this year and previous years before. But yet, he's still standing and he's here in this moment, and, it's well-deserved.
Left side in the back to Joseph.
Joseph Basharo, the scorer. Dramón, sticking actually with the you and Lowry comparison. A lot of guys in the scrums out there have referred to both you and Kyle as the emotional leaders of each respective team. And I was just wondering if you can kind of put into words what you think that title means to you, or how you describe that title.
I mean, that title means a lot to me, but with that title comes great responsibility, because when you are an emotional leader, your team feeds off that. And if you don't bring that, your team usually lacks in that area. And so, as it is, we play Steph got to score, Klay got to score. Like, that's their job. That's the reality of it. I have to bring that emotion to the table. That's my job. That's the reality of it. But yet it's something that I enjoy. It's a role that you don't get nights off. You're going to have off nights shooting. You're going to have nights where you turn the ball over. You're going to even have nights where you don't get as many rebounds. You don't get off nights as an emotional leader, and if you do, the ramifications, they're not good. So just got to make sure you're always on and trying to bring that every single night.
Right side, first row, Phil.
Hey, Dramón. Phil Barber, Santa Rosa Press Democrat. You guys have had to prepare for a lot of great individual players in the playoffs over the last few years. Is preparing for Kawhi a little different in that he isn't really dominant at one or two things, but he seems to be good at just about everything on the court? Is that a unique challenge?
I wouldn't necessarily say he's not dominant because he just dominates the game. And so I think the challenge with Kawhi is it doesn't look the same. Like, when Steph dominated a game, like Kevin dominated a game, Damian Lillard dominated a game, LeBron dominated a game. Like, it does not look the same as when Kawhi is dominating the game. And so it can fool you to just say, we can just guard him this way, or, we can do this, or, we don't have to put too much focus into him. We still got to, because it doesn't look the same. It's not as pretty. But boy, is it effective. And so, where a lot of those guys that I just named are like natural God-given scorers, Kawhi isn't that. Kawhi didn't come into this league as a scorer. Yet he's one of the best scorers we have in the league now. And so it just doesn't look the same, but the results are the same or better. And he's really worked to get to where he is today. Well, with that type of work that he's put in also comes a different mindset, because you also understand how much you had to work to get to where you are today. And that comes with a different mindset, a different appreciation. When you have that different appreciation, it shows in your play, and it showed in his play, and it shows in their team being in the NBA Finals.
Oh, man.
Right side, second row. Go ahead, Mark.
Klay, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Dramón said a few days ago that he is the best defender ever. Wondering if you could react to that kind of claim and talk about another defender and his abilities, Kawhi Leonard, in this series.
Both those two can be in the argument, especially of our time, this generation. I think they will be forever remembered as this generation's some of the greatest defenders. Obviously, both defensive player of the years, and can guard multiple positions, and their versatility is what, to me, stands out the most. It's not like they're just protecting the rim, but they can guard 1 through 5 and do it so effectively. So that's my thoughts on both them.
As for Dramón's claim that he's the best ever,
I agree. It's my teammate of 7 years, so I will forever have his back, and fellow champion. So he's a 3-time champion for a reason, just because, like I said before, his versatility on the defensive end is amazing.
Left side, fifth row.
Hi, over here. Corin McCallum, TSN. In the next 2 weeks or so, if a Drake song comes up on a playlist or just plays, do you skip it or do you take it out of the playlist?
If it's a bad song, I'll skip it. But if it's one of his hits, I'll play it. I've been a Drake fan since, I was in high school. He's a great artist. Do I like him as a Raptor fan? No, but I like him as a musician. He is extremely talented, but I will definitely skip the song if I don't like it. And if it's one of his soft, R&B songs, I'm gonna skip it because I'm in kill mode right now. Trying to get these 4 games, so I'll skip Hotline Bling and anything along that line. Yeah.
Right side in the back.
Yeah.
Klay, Jordan Fontaine, Sportsnet. Just talking about legacy in pro sports, the finals appearances, the titles. It's not an easy thing to do it so often. What's the legacy of this team?
Oh man, that's a great question. It's hard to formulate that answer right now because I think we're in the midst of a dynasty run that's still ongoing. But hopefully, when it's all said and done, people will just remember us for our talent, for our ability to play as a team, and the consistency for year in and year out, being able to reach the finals and, perform at the highest level.
Left side, front row, Michael.
Steph, Michael Grange from Sportsnet, over to your left.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Welcome. About what point did you guys really start noticing that Toronto could be a team you'd end up crossing over against, number one? And was it as far back as last summer? And number one, how kind of refreshing maybe is that, if that's a word, for you to have an opportunity to be in a finals that doesn't involve Cleveland?
I mean, probably the last 4 years, honestly. They've been knocking on the door. We always, keeping up with what's going on in the other conference, through every playoff run and chase. And obviously this year's the year they got over the hump. So realistically speaking, it was 10 days ago or 5 days ago when they, won Game 6 that you kind of lock in on what that experience is going to be like. One, starting on the road in the finals. Two, playing against a different team other than Cleveland, because Cleveland and the finals are pretty synonymous for us with our experience. But I would say just this entire year has been kind of wild for us, chasing the same goal but doing it with a lot of noise around us, and to be able to start here in Toronto against a different opponent in our 5th straight finals creates a great edge for us, and I like the energy that we're coming in with for Game 1.
Miriam Medaya from CBC Radio Canada. To follow up on what you just said, what is your mindset coming in and playing the first 2 games ever finals outside of the United States here in Toronto?
Honestly, that didn't really come into play for us. We've been here before. We understand the hoopla and the pandemonium around the finals and how different things are when it comes just to schedule and the vibe. So we've seen a lot, and we'll be ready for it. It's just kind of got to get settled in, early. We know the crowd's gonna be crazy, and for us, it's a great opportunity to go out and just give her 110% and figure it out.
And for your family, what does it mean to be back here?
It's special. I talk about it every year. My dad, haven't played here for 3 years. This is where he retired. Back in '02, I lived here for a couple of years, went to school out here. So my wife grew up in Markham, right down the street. So a lot of family history, and a lot of, that side of the family still lives here. So I look forward to coming back here every regular season, and now to be in the finals. Something I honestly been looking forward to if they ever made it. So it's here, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
Right side, 5th row, Tim.
Steph, Tim Reynolds with the AP. What has sort of makes Kawhi so maybe more difficult to defend now than he's ever been before? And to that end, what sort of a comfort is it knowing that at any time you guys have an Andre or a Klay or a Dramón who can be in front of him whenever you guys choose to match up however you will?
I mean, he's tough. Obviously, he's been playing amazing this whole playoff run, and really all season. He's always at his own pace and never seems to get rushed or be in a hurry. He's obviously physically gifted and strong and can get to his spots, but he's become a really good shooter. When he gets even off the dribble, getting to a spot, rising up. And his counters are pretty solid too. You take one thing away from him, he can shift directions, try to get a shoulder by you, get into the paint. And he uses the entire floor really well. So for us, knowing, like you said, we have some beyond capable defenders to guard him. It's going to take on that one-on-one challenge. It's going to be important, but it's also, like we always say and what we always do when we're executing, at a high level, is it's all 5 guys being on a string, being able to send help and rotate, and they have shooters as well that you got to be aware of. And as of late, the Milwaukee series, some guys got hot and played off Kawhi really well. So you want to make it as difficult as possible on him. And all the other guys who are helping and rotating, try to take away the threes and rebound the basketball and make him defend on the other end as well.
Left side, 4th row, kerr.
Hi, Steph. Jeremy Lin shared his favorite memory of you. It was from back in the day. You guys were teammates. The Warriors were struggling at that time. We'd gone through some injuries, and then before game 82, he said you rolled your ankle. So he joked he was expecting to start that game, but no, you came out to play. So a couple questions off that. Do you remember that, playing in that game 82? Do you have a favorite moment with Jeremy? And then what is the bond that forms between young players on a struggling team, and how does that carry forward?
I vaguely remember that. When you say ankle rolls, I have to go through the whole Rolodex of 50 different times, so it's hard to pick out one. But I do remember him in the years that we played against him, with him in Toronto. I mean, I'm all over the place. When we played against or played with him in the Bay, and so when he was there, my impressions of him is just how hard he worked and on a daily in practice. Challenging me, challenging the guards that we had, klay, in terms of trying to make us better and establish himself as an NBA player. And like most of the world, is my favorite thing about him is his perseverance. I remember when can't remember exactly who came out on the court, but when he got waived in the middle of training camp and ends up in Houston, I think, and then ends up in New York. And obviously when Sandy takes over, it's not a lot of people that can, go through that many defeats, if you will, and still have the self-confidence that, whenever that opportunity does present itself, I'm going to take advantage of it. And, he's made an amazing career, out of that. So, and just him as a human being, he's a great dude that when you talk about guys on struggling teams trying to make it, that bond and that work ethic and just the attitude of we're just going to appreciate every opportunity we have to play basketball, that means a lot for sure.
2 more questions, front row on the left, Mark.
Steve, Mark Medina-Barry, News Group. Are there any new medical updates with Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, and what they can do moving forward?
No, Kevin is, I think we already announced he's not playing in game 1. His next step is individual court work. So that, that will be the next priority over the next couple of days, and hopefully he can ramp that up. And then he's going to have to practice. We have to see him in practice before he can play a game, and he hasn't practiced yet.
Second question is on the left side, 4th row.
Anthony Slater with The Athletic. Have you decided yet on Cousins tomorrow, and then, right over here? Oh. And are you thinking about how you might use him, minute total, that type of thing?
Yeah, DeMarcus has done an amazing job coming back from the injury, which we felt at the time was season-ending. And so he's done an incredible job of rebounding, rehabbing, and now here he is. He's scrimmaged a couple times this week. He's pain-free. So it's really more a matter of rhythm, timing, and conditioning, all those things. I think I mentioned the other day, if this were the regular season, I'd throw him out there, and he'd play whatever minutes he could tolerate, and we'd build him up from there. It's not the regular season; it's the finals. So we have to figure out what's the best way to utilize him, how many minutes he can play, what the game feels like, what the matchups are like, and so some of that will be determined by what's happening in the game, and the other stuff is just internal with our staff. Excuse me?
Active for sure in game one.
Not. It hasn't been decided yet.
Same row, left side, Steve. Tim Cowell.
Tim Cowell on The Athletic. You've been asked and have answered about just the differences this series again after 4 previous against the same team, same city. But now that you're here, new team, starting on the road, new city, does it begin to hit you how different it does feel in the series?
Yeah, it's very different, and it's exciting. Toronto's always been a favorite stop, a favorite city of mine, and I think a lot of people in the NBA. And it's a great crowd. I think going way back before I was even coach of the Warriors, when I was doing TV, the 2 arenas that I felt were just the most electric were Oracle and here. And you could tell that there was just kind of this organic love and energy and passion for basketball in both places, because neither team was that good, and yet the arenas were filled, and there was so much excitement. And I think that the sense now that we have as a team is we can understand, we can feel how important this is to the whole country. So it's a different vibe, it's a different feeling, it's exciting, it's great for the game. Different for us, obviously, having been in Cleveland 4 straight years. But this is more the rule. That was the exception. I mean, you're not supposed to go to the finals 4 straight years, and you're definitely not, if you're lucky enough to do that, you're not supposed to play the same team 4 straight years. So that was really an oddity. This is more what the finals normally feel like, where you're going against a team you frankly don't know that well, and that you haven't seen that often over the previous few years.
4th row on the right side, 4th row. Eric.
Hey Steve, Eric Corrine, The Athletic. I know it's a few years back. What do you remember about how Kawhi Leonard was performing in that game 1 before he injured himself against you guys? And how is he, based on the video you've seen, how has he grown as somebody you have to, game plan to slow down since then?
Well, that was, I believe, 2017. He was having a great game. The Spurs were kicking our butts. They were up 23 points. So they were having their way with us. But in terms of how Kawhi has grown, I don't know, he was finals MVP in 2014. So 5 years later, he's probably a little bit older and wiser. He's definitely older. I think he's wiser. I think he's seen more. And as you get older in your career, you especially as a great player like he is, you see more and more coverages. You see how different people play you. So he's probably a little more rounded as a player, more aware of how teams are trying to play him. But no matter how you slice it, he's been a superstar in this league, one of the top few players in the game for 5-6 years now.
Right side, 6th row back.
Steve, Dan Winke with the Los Angeles Times. This postseason, we've seen Draymond get into incredible shape, and we've also heard him talk about not complaining and stuff like this. Is this a more mature version of him? And how has that played out this postseason?
He's been great, on and off the floor. I mean, his leadership has been great. Yes, he lost some weight and got himself in much better condition over the last couple of months. You can just see it. Watching the 2 Toronto games on tape that we played. I think one of them he missed, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he played both. But he's a different guy. He looks different. He's slimmer and sleeker and faster. And I think that confidence has allowed him to be more poised on the floor. When you're playing well and you're feeling good about yourself, it's easier to sort of maintain your emotions. And so I think there was some frustration earlier in the year when he wasn't playing as well, and he's such a passionate, competitive guy that some of those frustrations came out. But this is the best. You're seeing the best of Dramón right now. Great condition, unbelievably high level of play, and very poised. And it all, to me, it all ties together.